Hello everybody, Northern Hero is here. You know, this country has been divided and it's all to do with this Brexit thing. Now, I voted for Brexit. I'm not extremely obsessed with it, but I thought at the time it was the best thing. And the Brexiters won the vote on the referendum, although it was incredibly close. You get the Remainers, or Remainers, but they do moan a bit, don't they? That people who voted for Brexit are xenophobics, and the list goes on and on. I was quite annoyed when Brexit won the votes and put on Facebook, oh great, I can't remember which words, and somebody said, are you a xenophobic or something? I'm not sure if he called me something, and I replied, and this is going back quite some time, to be honest, but in Britain there's far too many different cultures and that, and I respect anybody of their beliefs and stuff like that, and I've got on very well with non-Christian people, Muslims, I've got on very well with some of those, but in my opinion, well, it's obvious, not just my opinion, but the different cultures in different parts, they just stick to one another. They don't like to associate themselves with somebody who isn't part of their culture. Although they can be friendly in that, you might talk to a few on the bus or whatever. Well, actually, it's very rare that happens, to be honest. I like all different kinds of people, don't get me wrong. I've had friends, I've had people who I've got on well, who are Muslim. In fact, I've probably had more arguments or more people being funny with me from British people. White British people have been more funny against me, but by looking at it, I've probably met a much higher percentage of white people. So it's quite obvious the statistics are high and low. They can vary, can't they? Do you know what I mean? I think the most kind of people that have been a bit funny with me, apart from British people, maybe mixed race people. There were a few of them at school, and I just thought they were so cocky, and I mean, I get on with most people, don't get me wrong, I think the danger with having different communities and that, and you know, there's loads of communities such as Slovakian and other different, you know, similar kind of people, is that they live very different compared to British working class people. You know, they're on the streets chatting and that and stuff and throwing rubbish on the floor. There's an area near me and it's an absolute disgrace. Although when I've drove past, I've never actually encountered any trouble, to be honest. You know, they're on the front and they can stare at you in the car. Some of them have got a staring problem. People from you know, Slovakia and these other places. And they look a bit Trumpified as well. Now, people that say that refugees should be welcome, well, why don't they just live in an area where it's polluted with foreigners and see how they get along living around there for about 3 years. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you know, you would have to pray about it, but also you would really have to pray to move away, I believe, because it'd be too much. Now, if you think about it as well, I don't think a lot of different people of different cultures can mix well with each other. Take, for instance, an African man and a white woman. You know, they'll get together, have kids. How often have you seen when the woman has left the man? Right? They don't get along together after a bit and they leave. I'll tell you what, there are loads of kids or teenagers or whatever that are mixed race that only live with one parent because the parents have split up. It doesn't work, my friends. And when white women have gone with Muslims and the Muslims have tried to convert them, and then the woman is not allowed to see her family and that because she has made a decision. It's her own decision, but she probably doesn't actually realise at the time what she stepped into, because her Muslim husband has been really nicey, you know, got a lovely BMW or a nice car, and you know, some of them can be very kind. I'm not saying that they're not, but once they get into that religion, and it's a religion of fear, my friends, they can't, it's so hard for them to come out. I was watching a programme about a Muslim family who became Christians, and they've moved to a few places and they had Muslims smashing the windows and just giving them abuse and just tormenting them all the time. Do you know what I mean? I mean, yes, there is radical Muslims about. There's some very peaceful Muslims as well. I've worked with some in the past, and some of them, some of them are probably better than white people to get along with. But you can't. Well, you won't be able to say anything bad about their religion. I don't try to question it. Years ago, I had a friend who was Somalian when I was at school, and he was Muslim. I didn't know much about it at the time, and went to his house a few times, and his mum was very happy that I said I believe in God. She says, "Oh, thank you. Oh, that's great. That's great." So some of them are very kind and accept your beliefs in that, but other than that, they don't get along. They don't seem to mix. They're more family orientated, and I mean, not just them, but Chinese people. They're the same. They don't mix with white people either. There's a fair amount of the place where I live. Although if you go to a Chinese restaurant, they're friendly, but it's the same thing. You can go to a shop with an Asian and they'll be friendly, because you're buying something. For them, it's called customer service. People will be friendly. But even in the gym, there's quite a few Chinese people, and not once has a Chinese person said hello. Mind you, saying that, not a lot of white people have either. We have to step out and show that we are nice people, and if we've got our crosses out, then it's always good to do something kind, isn't it, or a good deed or something. This Brexit is really getting on my nerves, to be honest. We voted to leave the EU. Now there's probably going to be a few people watching who probably voted to remain. Fair enough. But people do seem to go on and on about it. I believe if you've got God, then you will not suffer. But other than that, Britain, before 1974, was it, or something, was not part of the EU, not just for decades, but for centuries before. Think about that. We want our country back, my friends, and not allow EU to control us, Brussels to control us. Do you know what I mean? There are European laws that absolutely stink, and we've got to get tough on immigration, my friends. There's just far too many people coming in this country from overseas. Somebody told me once that Boston in Lincolnshire, nobody speaks English because they're all Polish. I've got nothing against Polish people myself, I think some of them can be very nice people, very friendly. But if it's something that's overtaking an English community, then that is bad news, my friends. It is bad news. I can go to a supermarket and I can hear about 6 different languages going off. I know it's nice to be in a community, and yes, I do like all people I like anybody around the world. and you know, we have to get along, we have to love people and that, don't get me wrong, but you know, this country is just getting ridiculous.